Welcome back to On Therapy with Simon Paul. I am Simon Sanborn.
And I'm Paul Jacobson.
Sweet, Paul, got some things to share with us?
You bet. Simon, on this podcast, we talk a lot about some of the challenges that men can go through and why they might want to go to therapy and some topics sometimes that can hit home, right? And I just want to let our listeners know that today's topic, we're going to be talking about aging parents. And for some people, this can be really a tough topic to go through. Um, and I just want to make our listeners aware that some topics that we discuss can really hit home.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks. Well, today we are going to be talking about aging parents and kind of maybe some of the struggles and things we bump into. When you think about this subject, Paul, what was behind the idea of like this would be
Mhm.
something that would be good to talk about?
Yeah. Yeah. The main thing is I have clients, some men that I see that can be going through some challenges of their parents aging. And then just for my wife and I, um, we thankfully still have our parents, but they are getting older and it can be hard. It can be hard to see that our parents are getting older and that they're not the same as maybe they were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. We can
Mhm.
see each visit that we see them. Sometimes we see change, right? And that's hard to know not only that our parents are getting older, but that we are getting older too, right? And so I just wanted to propose the idea to you, Simon, that, hey, let's talk about, what it's like to be a guy that has aging parents, um, and, what that entails for, a wide variety of situations. Our story might be completely different than other people's, but thought it would be a good topic to discuss.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And I can tie it back into therapy with the idea if somebody's listening to this and wondering if therapy is an option because they're struggling with things. I think aging parents is a really good example of that. It's a huge shift in our perception of ourselves and the people who've been caretakers for so long, and that those roles switch. I don't know where I
Mhm.
heard it, but in the beginning, it's parents and child, so like a vertical thing, and then becomes equal, we're all adults kind of thing, and then it shifts, and the kids are on top, and the parents are underneath then. And I thought that idea was really good for my ADHD brain,
Yeah.
and it's really an interesting thing to go through it. I mean, my dad's still pretty active and does a lot of stuff, and it's hard to imagine him getting to the point where he's not moving very much or he's, kind of stuck somewhere. That's really hard for me to imagine. He's always been a pretty active guy. Can't not, at almost 80, haul stones and shit around the house or build a retaining wall, I'm like, how did you get all these bricks back here? And he's like, oh, it took me about 3 days, one brick at a time. And I'm like, okay, good
Wow.
on you, man.
Yeah, that
So it's just hard to imagine him not being that active, but I am also watching him age. And I mean, it's aging, I feel like relatively in a slow way, but,
yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting kind of watch those shifts and changes, and I didn't have as much with my mom because I wasn't around her very much, but, I'm much more close to my dad proximity wise. And so I've been able to see some of these things, which makes it kind of drastic too when I go to California to see her and be like, oh shit, these 5, 10 year gaps are pretty significant. It's just hard.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird. But how about for you? Your parents still live close with us, right?
Yes. Yep. So my both my mom and dad, they're separated. They got divorced way back when I was 10. But they live about 25, 30 minutes from each other. And thankfully I get to see them frequently. Um, and I'm close with my parents, which, not everybody is close with their parents.
Hmm.
And relationships with parents can be complicated sometimes. Um, sometimes, you bring up that your dad lives close. but your mom lived in California, and then there's
Mm.
some gaps of seeing her, right?
Mhm.
So, a lot of people might live hundreds of miles, thousands of miles from their parents. They might have their parents living within their house,
Mhm.
right? Some people have been super close to their parents their whole life and want to be there for their parents every day. And other times that's not the case. Like some people don't want to care for their parents. It's
Mhm.
like, no, right? The relationship's too complicated, right?
Yeah.
And um, s- sometimes, people might go to therapy because they're trying to figure out like where are their values? Like, do I set aside some of the history that we have and just try to, make amends and, you know, maybe my my parent and I haven't gotten along very well, but you know, I don't have much time. So let's repair this.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes we lose a parent before that repair can happen. And there can be a lot of feelings there.
Mhm.
Um,
It's a really good point. I've spent time like not necessarily in meditation or anything like that, but like taking time to have like conversations with my mom that I would have had.
yeah.
Like just trying to, I mean, at least I think the intent behind the intent of the communication of just trying to be understanding and be open to things, I think that's really positive of being able to like find any way you need to talk about the things that you wish you could have said in those moments. Because yeah, there isn't anybody to repair with. It sucks.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. And that can contribute to some of the grief,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
We might not have even been maybe overly close with a parent, but haven't had that repair, and we lose our parent,
Mm,
and okay, it's done. Like
yep.
that repair is not going to happen.
Mm,
Um, of course, through therapy, we can work through that part of us that really longs for that repair,
hmm.
right? We can work on that in therapy. Um, well, it's just so many different
The
scenarios,
repair
right?
is different for everybody, right? The
So
repair is just, it's a different kind of repair. It's not what you would have hoped it could be, but there can be some repair that happens. It's just going to be different than what you thought it was going to be.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, hmm yeah, and I think too, um, boundaries are really important when it comes down to people who have aging parents and where we're at in our communication with our parents,
Mm,
helping our parents. Um, how much are we going to be there, if at all? Uh,
mm,
some can be really a tough thing, You get people in our age group, let's say, Simon, we're both in our 50s, who may have parents in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, that, we're at a stage of our life where we're longing for lots of freedom.
mm,
I mean, we've worked 30 some years and we hope to wind down and maybe not work like 50, 60 hours a week anymore, so whatever it
mm,
might be. And then we may have parents that require a lot of our time that we did not plan on.
mm,
That, we thought, oh, we'll get to retirement age or around retirement age. And, all right, we're going to be able to have all this freedom. And then, maybe, ah, you know what? I'm spending lots of time with my mom or my dad um, to care for them, or it might even be a grandparent, depending on the age
Yeah,
of our.
I think that's how therapy can be so beneficial because it can be one of those things where, man, I have so much shit going on in my head. I have so many things I'm trying to take care of and I can barely manage myself. I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. It's really confusing. Like being able to sit down
Right,
with somebody and talk through those things.
right,
I mean, I've had so many clients say, yeah, once I realized I was having this anxiety, and I was able to identify it, then after a while, that gave me space to not have so much anxiety, and I realized I had more space to really solve problems or figure shit out because I was able to be aware of what was happening for me anxiety wise.
right.
So
Yeah,
that this can kind of it can be a clarifying kind of thing for people, like it can help define things or I don't know. Sorry, I kind of got in the weeds there, but I just think that like that's what the benefit is that being able to process through and talk through these things are so important. I had a client today that was talking about it's just disappointing that he still hears people talk about therapy as if, I don't need to go to therapy. There's nothing wrong with me, right? It's
yeah,
still this thing that's said out loud that I want I want a magic pill to change everybody's viewpoint. Like it's just
right.
to me.
It's not
Especially
about being
they're
fixed.
fucking hard. You're watching your parents die. Jesus, like that's so difficult. I would want to talk to somebody about that shit. It sucks.
Right. And my dad got remarried. I think I was about 15. My stepmom and I got along fantastic. I'm very thankful for her. Sadly, in 2020, she passed away.
Mm,
Um, she had gotten leukemia approximately 15, yeah, about 10 years before that, right around there. And, watching her make life decisions
mm,
on whether she wanted to fight leukemia or not. And then she did decide to fight it and then had some good years, but then things got hard again. And to watch like people's mindset, like watching a parent's mindset on whether they want to live or not,
mm,
that can be really hard to deal with too. Right? Because that we might want to persuade them, no, you got to get treatment. You have to fight this.
mm,
But, it's easy for us to say that.
mm,
But if they're going through it and they might have 25, 30 years on us, and their perspective of life might be different, you know? Uh,
mm,
and so to be able to be there for an aging parent that might have a different perspective on life than us can be challenging too.
mhm. Yeah, and I think I was just talking to our mutual friend Jessica about this. I've
Mhm.
had such a reconnection with my dad, that I really feel like therapy is one of the main reasons why it happened.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
and I've shared it kind of before,
yeah.
about getting a text from him and it kind of validating my childhood, and to put it into the simplest form.
Mhm.
Um, and once that validation happened, I just felt this desire desperate desire to reconnect with him. Of like, oh God, this thing was in my way. I'm so glad I figured it out, kind of thing.
Mm,
And ever since then, that's kind of been my focus. So we usually text every day now.
nice.
He always texts me lots of videos that I can't watch all of them.
Yeah, no kid, I get that
But
too.
I appreciate the sentiment. And I spent some time with him the last couple weekends. We spent days with each other, and it was just really amazing. I really enjoyed just being around him and talking. Um, and I could recognize all the things that he would be talking about that I think in the past would have annoyed me, or oh shit, we're talking about this again, or other things that would come up instead of me just being present and enjoying being around him. That has been really a huge gift. Um,
Yeah,
so I think that therapy really helped me be available to that opportunity. You
yeah,
know,
right.
it took a bit to get there, but I'm just so grateful for it. And again, that's why we're doing the podcast, is we just really think it matters.
Does matter.
So yeah, I think being around our parents, I think as much as we can, if we can figure out what that relationship's like. If you can't be around your parents because they're struggling with something, like they're you can't be around them with your kids because they're assholes because they have a drinking problem or something. Like I get the idea that you can't be connected, and that's hard too when you
Right?
can't be able to make those connections. We all want a relationship with our parents,
Mhm.
and to have these barriers there that aren't necessarily yours is really difficult too.
For sure. That's where therapy can help a person process like where they are at with their relationship with their parents and becoming okay with their decision on what they're going to do. I- Are are they going to care for their parents? Are they going to um, try to distance themselves?
Hmm.
Uh, Whatever might be, it can be good to just process and say the things out loud to
Hmm.
someone who really cares. Um, yeah, sometimes parents can have a lot of expectations put on their children
Hmm.
to care for them and to transport them, take them to doctor's appointments, to
Hmm.
help pay for things. Um, there can be a lot of guilt for people that um, it's like, well, my parents raised me.
Right.
They did all these things for me.
Yeah.
I should be there.
It's our duty.
Yeah, yeah, it could be a lot of guilt there, right? And some parents are maybe are saying, "Hey, no, you know what? You got your life. You go do your thing. It's okay." And on the other end of the spectrum is maybe an aging parent that really need their child like all the time for support.
Hmm.
And what kind of impact does that have?
Yeah, it really makes me think of my siblings because they had to do that with my mom.
Uh,
Make those decisions, be there for that kind of stuff.
mhm.
Um, yeah, I can just imagine how hard that was, how difficult that was to go through that. Really tried to like tell them how
Yeah,
much that meant to me when I was there face to face with them because that was such a task to have to do, and be put in those positions. And it's shocking. It was shocking from afar. So I can only imagine what it was like being there. Even when my sister texted me that she had passed away that morning, she was in her bed in that house where they live, and my brother came over and saw her and things like that. But so I just can't imagine that would be really, really hard to do.
right. And you bring up a great point, Simon, is how our relationships can be with our siblings can change when we have aging parents too, right? Like some people might really value being there every moment with an aging parent, while other people, just due to distance or the relationship might be um, not there, not as present, right? And like what our values are on whether we need to have our space or not uh,
Mhm.
is important. Like that can be a challenge to deal with a sibling who might be putting pressure on us, or maybe vice versa, that one person might be spending a lot of time with the parent and the other siblings aren't. So
Mhm.
there can be some relational things there too that have to be worked through.
Yeah, yeah. I know people that have like, took care of one parent. They were able to do that. And so they could show up and do the appointments and be there and help them through the last stages of their life.
Hmm.
And then now there's another parent and they're further away. And they've had to start setting these boundaries of like, I did my thing. I stepped in for the family when I could.
Yeah.
And now it's somebody else's responsibility. I'm not withdrawing my responsibility, but I need somebody else to step into these spaces,
Right.
and I don't need to be the one required for that. And like being okay with that, like being okay, like yeah, I did my thing. It doesn't mean I don't care for I love my mother, but I've
Hmm.
already been through that, and I can still be present for other things. So I think that's hard to get to those spaces. I think because there's can be a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
There can be a lot of things in place, that's really hard to process through. So again, like that's what you get to process through with somebody who knows how to listen to what's happening, and be able to identify it and see like, fuck yeah, that's hard. No wonder, man. That's really difficult to have that kind of struggle, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the relationship thing, I feel like, and this is so much easier said than done, but like I feel like that's like such a key piece for us as our parents age is if it's possible to see if we can mend some of those things. And not because they're going to be gone at some point, you don't want to have regrets, but like you're missing out on, I feel like we can miss out on opportunities to continue to learn from our parents or get different perspectives of the past, like, or if those perspectives have changed for them compared to when you were a kid. My dad found a box of pictures, and we were going through them together. It was like out of a Hallmark movie. It was like perfect. And he hadn't looked through the pictures either. So we were like looking at these really old pictures of times when we were first in Iowa, pictures of Jessica when she was a baby. So
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
awesome. And so, or not a baby, but uh, and it was such a wonderful thing to be like, I was like, "Ah, I remember this. This picture is like burned in my memory. I can't believe I'm seeing it. Because we thought we lost most of our stuff in the fires that we had.
Mm.
And so these were like left over from way before the fires. So they survived somehow. So it was just really this amazing bonding experience we had. And we both really like were aware and really enjoyed it together. And I don't, it makes me sad to think that I would have missed out on an opportunity like that. Thinking about it 10 years from now or 20 years from now when he's gone, if I had held on to some of those old beliefs or those old ways of looking at things, I wouldn't have had opportunities like that. And I think that's one reason why I have some of these passions about therapy is like that kind of clarity and those kind of moments are so incredible for people. And if
Right.
you get an opportunity to talk about this stuff and figure out, what is it about your dad that drives you fucking crazy? And he did, he drove me nuts.
Hmm.
He always talked about the same shit, told the same stories,
Mm.
did all these things and they just would just drive me crazy. And I was like, "Well, I just don't, what is this? I have this problem. What is going on?" And it wasn't a problem to be solved. It was a validation of an experience that he was part of that I needed to hear. But I had to get to a space where I was able to hear it. And that
Yeah.
was hard to find, but I'm so glad that I did. It was worth all the effort and then some.
Good. 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 Yeah. That's great, Simon. Those relationships are can be really important, and not everybody can get to the point where things are good. It's yeah, it's tough sometimes, and
Mm. Well,
you
and
know,
I think nowadays, well, it really depends. I'm not in the ethos when it comes to this kind of area, but like parents moving into like assisted living facilities and things like that.
right?
That can be really difficult too because
Yeah.
um, the ones that are around my area are pretty posh, like they're pretty fancy. Uh,
Uh-huh.
they have like, everything's accessible to them, food and things like that, of course, but like tons of activities, beautiful settings, like, green and nice. Um, but those are like 6 grand a month, I think, to live in.
Some of them are very expensive. Yeah.
And that's not, I mean, not everybody can afford that. So I think that could be a huge part of it too. If you have an aging parent who doesn't have a retirement or something, and then maybe you have to pay for it, or you put them in some horrible place, that we've all been in those places. That's what I'm used to when I was a kid. My grandparents, when they were
Right.
old and dying, were these places that were kind of shitty.
Hmm. Right.
And you're gonna put the person that brought you into the world and cared for you into this shithole, it just sucks.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And that certainly can be very hard for um, you know, the child to they see their parents go into a nursing home or something that when you go to visit, you hear people yelling and screaming. It's like they're just not, doesn't seem like a comfortable place,
Mm.
right? It's can be hard. And there are great nursing homes, but there's also people at all stages of life in a nursing home that, um, and mental health too, right? Like some people might be really in a tough place mentally in a nursing home that,
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, let me walk back a little bit what I said. I didn't mean to be so crass about these shitholes. I know people don't want to be having shitholes and working at shitholes, and I'm sorry that sounded kind of crass. So my apologies. It just saddens me to know
yeah,
that towards the end of people's lives, they have to live in a situation that just it's just existing kind of.
not what they signed up for, right?
Yes, great way of saying it. Yeah. Yeah, and that's just got to be so hard.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, yeah, so even if you have a great relationship with your parents and you have to put them somewhere that's not comfortable or they don't feel good about,
Right.
my grandfather was doing his thing, man, till the very end. It was bad when he lost his license. That was a big life shift. I think I've
Oh,
talked about that before, but he was still taking the butt. He was still going to visit people. Him and people were how he got
yeah.
made him tick. So he was really active, and it was just one of those out of the blue things. Took one pill too many or something, and his heart stopped. So it was a little sudden, but he was definitely up there in age,
Hmm.
and so it was a matter of time. I mean, he was, I think, I'm pretty sure he was in his 90s. So
Yep.
yeah, so sometimes it just kind of catches you off guard, but that's also a different thing too. Like we were upper middle class in California. And
Mhm.
so all of these things are like planned. Like he knew exactly where he was going. He knew exactly what was happening. He had plenty of money. All his kids were doing fine, in quotation marks, fine. But all this stuff was all planned out.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it too. If your parents aren't planning for that kind of stuff, or I don't know if it's even maybe it's part of most people's, or it feels like it's not part of mine of like, I don't think I've planned that far ahead. I don't think my dad has for sure.
Yeah. I haven't either.
Interesting. Have your parents contemplated that? Do they have any ideas of what they want to do?
Yeah. My mom lives in a retirement community
Okay.
right now, and it's great because of the support, like just the people that she's around.
Hmm.
Um, it is good. It's really a clean place. Mm, I'm glad that she has that space. My dad lives at home, but he talks about if he ends up going to a nursing home or something. But like my dad, man, I and he knows this, so if he listens to this, this is not news. Um, my dad is extremely social. He goes out to lunch nearly every single day, and he knows all the servers. He goes out to eat for supper multiple times a week. Doesn't eat at home very often. And he knows all the servers at all the restaurants that he goes to. He
I'm gonna
gets,
be him someday. That sounds
yeah,
awesome.
he is living the life. For a guy 85, he
That's
still drives all over. To drive 150, 200 miles to go see someone, it's no big deal.
Mhm.
Uh, he's in a good space, and I'm so grateful for that. But one thing like if I was in his shoes, um, I kind of wish that he lived in a retirement community. Um, so he could be around a lot of other people because he just does not like to be at home because
Mm.
it's lonely, right? It's lonely at home, but he hates change, and then he cannot even grasp like moving and having to part ways with some of the stuff in the house.
Wow.
Right? That's like asking way too much for him to get rid of stuff.
Mm.
So to move is just too much. Um, and it will be interesting what the next couple of years or 5 years, 10 years does.
Hmm.
All right.
Well, I'm down for moving. You call me, I'll be there. I'll be happy to help.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, thanks.
I love things like that. Yeah, I just when you were kind of talking, it's making me think of my dad because I have been thinking about well, I mean, ever since our friendship podcast, I think it's really kind of been the forefront of my mind. But like this, how important it is to have friends and community. And when my dad lived here in Iowa, he was part of the theater, a Starlighters Theater at Anamosa. He loved doing that. He did directed plays, he was in plays, on the board. Really enjoyed all that engagement. And now he's in St. Louis and he doesn't know anybody. and he also doesn't get out and meet anybody. And so I did
Mm,
talk about that with him of like this idea of like going out and or trying to, I said there's local theaters around here. I know there are. Why
yeah,
not introduce yourself to people or go see a play and talk to one of the directors or something and kind of find something,
yeah.
to do that's active in an area that you enjoy, and he just doesn't, he seems very resistant to this idea. I don't know why.
That's
I didn't
change.
really dive deep
Sounds
into
like.
it. Yeah, it's hard for me at times not to go into therapy mode, so I kind of have to brush the edges a little bit. But I was like, what kind of what do you think's keeping you from doing that? I haven't really asked those questions, so
Uh-huh.
it doesn't feel, I don't feel like it's fair, but or it doesn't sound like it's fair coming from me. I think that's like a therapy question. So,
Yeah,
but
right. It's hard to turn that off
it
sometimes.
is hard to turn it
We're
off.
curious, right?
Yeah, and we want to know. I mean, but we're therapists. We're also love our parents, and so we're trying to figure. I'm trying to be thoughtful. I'm not trying to like solve all of his problems, but I just know it's important. And I know that he loves that shit. Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting. But I think your dad having all of that social activity, man, that's keeping that guy young.
Oh yeah, yeah. And my mom too. You know,
Hmm.
um, my mom, she's nearly 50 years sober now, and she goes to AA meetings every day. And she's just really active in AA, and that community is really good for her too. And she really makes a difference in people's lives through AA. So I'm really grateful. She has all those relationships. Yeah. I went to her 45-year pin ceremony,
Oh.
and it was cool because my mom actually, talked about her experience as she got her pin. And it's like I got to see my mom in a completely different light.
Hmm.
I know we're not on the same topic here as aging parents, but I just want to share this quick. Is she, I saw how she relates to her friends
Hmm.
and the AA members and so forth. And it's like, wow, she's like a different part of her is showing up right now.
Hmm.
And like I hadn't seen that part before. And it was really cool. And I had so many people. There's probably a good 50 people at the meeting, and so many people coming up and telling me like how big of an impact my mom has had on them and sharing stories of my mom. And it's like, well, I'm really, really glad my mom invited me to that.
Hmm.
It's really special. So, uh,
Really.
I, it goes back to our friendship podcast, right? I mean, we need people in our life that we can be real with.
Hmm.
It matters.
Yeah, and I think maybe kind of just made me think that like maybe that's what I'm kind of getting with my dad too. Like it's more of a friendship
Uh-huh. Yeah.
where
I
I'm
bet.
viewing it maybe more that way. I don't know, but like it feels like a good friendship. That's what it feels like, a really good friendship.
For sure. I feel that way with my parents too.
Yeah.
We're lucky in that sense, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, we really are. We
Yeah.
really are. And I think too, if I think it's probably pertinent, thinking about therapy, and we're obviously promoting it and think it's beneficial, and it does take a bit to get to these spaces. I think people when going into therapy need to like think of it like I've said before, like an adventure, an exhibition of some sort. Like we're trying to,
Yeah.
we're exploring things, we're looking
Right.
into stuff to kind of understand why we react a certain way or whatever. The awareness that Kim kind of talked about. I think
Mm,
this can really be helpful when it comes to relationship because I mean it's the number one existential thing, right? Death, and it's not our death, but it's somebody else's, or we're moving in that direction, and it's hard to wrap your head around, for sure.
yeah.
I think
Right.
that's why when accidents happen, people die suddenly. It's so much more difficult. It's just so sudden, and you don't have time to kind of process, gain understanding. Yeah, mom's getting that surgery, or mom's not getting that surgery. Okay, You kind of process, you kind of have space to kind of absorb it, maybe. I don't know. But I think that's why things are so shocking at times when it's sudden because you don't have any opportunity, for whatever it was, the opportunity is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simon, was, I remember I was about 16 talking to a friend of mine's father who we were talking about the local nursing home. It's just 4 or 5 blocks down the road during this conversation. And he was talking about their dad being there. And I said, "Oh, so do you go see your dad?" No. And
Mm,
he just looked at me like, no. So really, you don't go see your dad at the nursing home? Nope, can't do it.
mm,
Uh, they don't remember who I am. They don't know my name.
mm.
And that is too hard. I can't go see him when he doesn't even know who I am. Right. And certainly, you know, a lot of people, especially in our age group that have aging parents, might, their parent might be having dementia or, Alzheimer's or something where, man, their brain is just not the same.
Hmm.
It can be really hard to go through and seeing our parents go through that, right?
Mm. Yeah, God, yeah, that would be so difficult to do. Man, would that be hard? Because even though it's not productive, but then you're also not being a good kid. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, right. It's like
what's
that
sitting
struggle that you
there?
go through.
Yo, yeah, that would be so hard.
I'm going to throw in this plug quick. So I graduated, my undergrad is from University of Northern Iowa and Cedar Falls, Iowa. And they have on campus a dementia house simulator. And so there was a house or a group of 3 houses, I think it was, on campus that they were going to destroy, just tear these homes down. And one of the professors uh, just really promoted, can we keep one of them? Um, and I think she's a professor in gerontology. I might have said that wrong. Is aging, the study of aging.
Hmm.
And she put a dementia simulator in this house. And I went through it a few years ago, and it was mind blowing. She has a lot of undergrad students that help run it.
Hmm.
I was with 4 or 5 other school counselors at the time, and we put these rubber like kitchen gloves on,
Okay.
put these goggles on that gave you tunnel vision, and it was all just blurry and distorted.
Hmm.
We put headphones on. Um, yeah, that's it. And then, so I think there was 4 or 5 of us school counselors at the time, and they gave us 5 tasks to do in the house, and they're all different. Like everybody got a different task. So my 5, I think I had to make coffee. I had to fold the bed sheets. I had to start the laundry. I had to clean the toilet, and I had to vacuum. Okay, so they gave you those 5. Okay,
It's
and
awesome that you remember all that. That's how good the experience was.
yeah, absolutely. And each person had their own household tasks to do and said, okay, go. And of course, these glasses could not see well at all. And with the gloves, like trying to get coffee filters with these gloves on and trying to make coffee in a coffee maker was actually challenging
Oh,
because you just didn't feel well. And then in the headset, it was like they had 5 TV stations going all at the same time. and then with sirens and alarms that were going off, and I I literally got nauseous.
Whoa.
I I I had to like, okay, like don't throw up because I it was hard. Uh, and then I started remembering, okay, what do I have to do again? Like what? Okay, make coffee. I have to do the
Mm,
laundry. I have to fold the bed sheets. I have to vacuum. I have to clean the toilet. And trying to remember what it was that I needed to do with all the other people going and doing household chores,
right.
it actually messed with your mind. It was very challenging.
I bet.
And then, we did this for probably 10 to 15 minutes. And then after we were done, the professor just gave us a talk on the different types of dementia, um, Alzheimer's and Lewy body dementia, uh, and shared just what it's like. And
Mm,
it was a great experience, honestly. Um, and this professor, she would train just hundreds and hundreds of people. So let's say the staff at a dentist office, she would have them come in
mm,
and learn about dementia because of, clients that would go to the dentist and that they may be struggling with these things. And so to better understand, how it works,
what a
uh,
great
it was
idea.
really interesting.
Wow, we should see about having her on. That'd be kind of cool.
Actually, it would be cool. Yeah,
Wow, this
it's
is,
really interesting.
but it gives you so much more understanding of what they're going through.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and I think if you have a client who comes in who's really struggling with their aging parent who's living with them and has the kind of things that you experienced and your
yeah,
understanding of it,
right.
you'd be like, oh shit, let me tell you what it's like, or let me tell you my experience of what this was like. It's so overwhelming, it sounds like.
Yeah,
Can't even think straight. Like it's gotta be so hard. But just that understanding would give you a little bit more compassion and empathy, maybe.
right.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. I wonder too, do they have therapists that go through it? Was it
Oh,
just
I'm sure.
like
I'm
any?
sure they train tons
Okay.
of people. Um, yeah, I mean, I remember like she would talk about that they would have even like car salespeople that
Mhm.
would go through. Um, the dentist offices, all kinds of lawyers that would go through, teachers, nursing home staff, hospital staff. There's hundreds of different people that would get that experience because it can really change your perspective.
Mhm.
And then especially like what she would teach at the end. Um, she would share different examples of what a person might be going through. Um, for example, one that was really eye-opening to me, Simon, was how you and I are in the moment. Like if we were to try to guess what time it is, we could probably get within 15 minutes of what it is right now. We would know the the general date, like we might be off by a day or something, sometimes we don't always know the exact date, but oh, is it what, the 24th today? Yeah, 24, right?
Mhm.
Um, but someone with dementia might be completely in a different time than us.
Mhm.
Might be 1974, you know, September of 74 or something like that. Or they might just feel like the weather's completely different than it is right now. They might wear a winter coat outside. Oh, it's hot, but they're they might mix up their seasons because they're just not in the moment like we are, right? They're
Yeah.
in a different time period. And it's something we don't even think about.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense then, right? All those movies you see when they go visit their parent and, oh, you remind me of your grandfather because they think of
Yeah.
somebody else or whatever, because they're
Mhm.
living another time.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's such a, I feel like those things are all kind of like, this is my way of thinking about it, are just part of this journey that we're on. You know, that this is just an aspect of it. It's not a fun aspect of it, but
Mhm.
it's pretty natural, you know, that we're going to be watching our parents go through these shifts and these changes. And, you know, but I think it's still, I don't know if it's, I think modern society makes it a little bit more difficult at times too, you know, expectations, you know, and I think maybe I was thinking, you know, have you planned for it? Do you have those paths carved out for yourself of like, oh, when I get to this age, I'm retiring and then I'm going to be living until here and then I'm going to look for a retirement community somewhere? Or like, have you already planned those things out?
You know, I definitely think about like the healthy side of it all. Like if I'm able-bodied and can do all the things that I want to do, yeah, I think about that. I don't think about the parts that, let's say um I can't do what I currently can do. Right? I don't go there. I don't think about that uh at all.
I don't
Watch.
even, I assume that I'm going to be. I don't even, that's not even like
Yeah.
the pair of you I've ever
Right.
had.
And
It's
we're
just
we're
that I'm going
privileged to think that way, right?
to,
Because
yeah.
we're both in decent shape right now, but that
Hmm.
could change soon, right?
Yes.
That could change just like that. And now you can't do what you used to be able to do.
Hmm.
Uh, and maybe you can't drive. You can't work anymore.
Hmm.
And what you had hoped and dreamed for 30, 40 years now suddenly is not. Ugh, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was
Scary.
talking to somebody about going, they'd gone to Edinburgh, Scotland, and I had talked about how there was an MFT conference there that I had friends that went to and just loved it. Um,
Yeah.
and they were saying, oh yeah, it was amazing. I was like, I've always wanted to go. And they're like, you need to just do it. Then I go, well, you know, financial stuff. And
Yeah, right.
then there's not time. Like you need to try to do these things, you know, make it an intentional thing. Like make sure you do stuff because, well, we both know, you know, we were 40 yesterday. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. Time. I think I said to a friend today, uh, the sand seemed like it's running out of the hourglass faster now that we're on the back end.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I met with my financial planner this morning. It's like, man, it's hard.
Well,
I was
I
telling
even
him
think
how
about like
hard.
if let's say you and I and Tammy and Jen end up in a retirement somewhere in Arizona, I'm like, I guess I can sit by the pool or I can go do fun things or golf or things like that. But I'm like, my first thought is like, I could do a couple telehealth sessions on a day. Like, I don't feel like this is going to be something I have to retire from. And that could change. And that perspective could change for sure. But I thought I was going to be a BD teacher my whole life. And that doesn't seem like an absolute, that would never happened.
Mm,
But so it feels like that was definitely an inevitable thing. This feels like something that doesn't, I
yeah.
don't see myself retiring. Like I love my house. I guess I can see a time where I can't get upstairs,
Mm,
and that might be an issue, but we don't plan on going anywhere, you know, like we're really starting to enjoy our space. So I don't know. It's kind of weird to be it's a complicated thing to be thinking about.
yeah.
It's not just an easy answer.
Right. Yeah. And we're fortunate to be in a career that we
Mhm.
can do forever. Likely,
Yeah.
it's possible that we have a brain injury or something, but
Hmm.
um likely we'll be able to do this job for a long time. And you might remember, I don't remember his name, but we had a therapist visit our class one time that I believe he was in his late 60s to early 70s, and he didn't plan on stopping anytime soon, I don't think. I don't know if you remember that day or not, but
I don't, but that's okay. A
yeah,
lot of those days are blurry.
yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah. So, you know, Paul, when you think about like, what are some areas you think therapy is beneficial when it comes to aging parents? What are some things that kind of pop out for
Yeah,
you that are like areas that like, I mean, our clients guide us. So I get that part too. But when your understanding of what some of the struggles are, how do you think therapy shows up best, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word?
Yeah. I, I think a couple things. I think really clear boundaries with our parents and getting in tune with ourself on what those boundaries should be.
Mm,
Um, like what is my role with my aging parents? How eh, how is it that I can match my values?
mm,
How much am I going to help if so or not? Um, what kind of behavior can I tolerate from my parents
mm,
as they age? Um, Also having really clear communication, I think, about finances with our parents can
mm,
be important. And if siblings are involved too, um, it's Simon, I don't know if you've seen it with friends or acquaintances, but sometimes the financial issues that come about with aging parents
mm,
can really put a bind on some relationships. I have seen people in our age group who maybe their parents have passed, and there's inheritance, and it can really impact relationships between siblings and in-laws. Uh, and man, that's sad. That's sad to see.
mm.
Uh, it's tough.
Yeah, I was thinking therapy wise would be understanding maybe the hierarchy and the roles. If you're an older sibling,
Yeah,
are you
right,
feeling like you need to be the one who steps up and does everything,
right.
and
Good point.
you don't
Yeah, that's
maybe
a great.
you don't see that, like, you have more supports there, you have other siblings to lean into, or you have other family that can be helpful, but you feel like you're in this role, you have to do this thing.
Yes,
I think that would be like a good thing to kind of understand too, so you can find, like, I think probably to your boundaries too, like find out where those
and
spaces
clarity.
are very fair, that are fair to you and fair to
Yeah,
everybody else.
yeah,
Um, but I think that knowing some of those things are really important,
yeah,
just so you can be aware of how you're responding to things, and maybe you're doing too much and everybody wants to help, and but you're not allowing them to because you feel the need to keep the control of stuff for whatever reason. Probably a positive thought in the sense of like taking care of my parents, but there's a lot more space in there, for other opportunities to have people help you or whatever. But I think the attunement is really important. I know that when I was grieving for my mom, just being very aware of what was happening. Yeah, I'm really sad right now. I'm really crying. I'm really having a difficult time and just being super, super sad. Um, and it doesn't feel good, but it also is better than holding on to it and trying to push it away and
right.
deal with it some other time, things like that, where it's just going to build up. And so being aware of what's happening for you and being able to sit in it isn't fun. But the benefit of therapy is kind of like, I'm going to keep referring to Kim because she had some such good thoughts in there of like, um, that attunement, that awareness that you get just gives you perspective. It doesn't necessarily shift or change anything too much. It just gives you like this moment to get more of to step out of it and see it from a different viewpoint.
Yeah,
And I think that's really powerful because
it is.
that goes to the point of not having, there's nothing to be fixed or anything to necessarily change. You're just seeing it from a different way. And
Mhm.
you're just validating, like, okay, yeah, I can see this thing happening. And it doesn't have to be any warrant on us, in some way of that we should be doing something. I don't know. It's just that awareness, I think, is such a powerful tool. And I think when we find ourselves fitting into roles, where we find ourselves fitting into patterns and we recognize it, especially if they're unhealthy, that we would get to be like, oh shit, okay, I see that now. Now it's going to be hard to figure out what to do next, maybe, but at least I can see this. And
Right,
so
right.
yeah, maybe I was made to be the person that mom and dad put it all. Your firstborn son, you get all the shit. Here you go, and that's what you're required to do. I think that's probably a fair scenario as well. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of trying to figure shit out. If they dump that shit on my lap, oh my God, would that be a cluster because I
Yeah.
didn't know where to begin to do that stuff.
Mhm.
Like, and that's why I'm so grateful for my brother Jonathan. He sat down with my mom and as her executor, and they fucking went through and mapped out everything with a fine-tuned comb. There was no questions about anything. Money
Yep.
was allotted for this, and money was allotted for this, and this is my funeral and the cost. Like she did everything, so we didn't. There was nothing required of us because my brother did that with her, and so I'm
Yep.
really grateful for that time period because it kind of got rid of all that stuff that you talked about.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of clarity as I mentioned that in nearly every podcast, right? It's,
Yeah.
it sounds like what your mom's wishes were very clear.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he was even some questions about something, and I texted him and said, "Hey, is there an issue with this?" He's like, "Nope, it's all taken care of." I'm like, "Okay, I'll let it go." But I think that that's another part of that. It's so hard is they're gonna have to. There's such huge adjustments that have to take place.
Yeah.
With an aging parent or your parent that passes away, and there's stuff to take care of, and
Right.
packing up houses, and like it's just there's so much there that's just nobody really has a great understanding about how to cope with it. I think it's so fair when people find themselves in those spots. It's so hard.
For sure. Yeah. It's such an important topic, Simon, and especially for people to be able to go to therapy and what I do a lot of narrative therapy, so it's kind of like the story that we tell ourselves. And I think, let's say somebody is becoming aware of how they're feeling. It's like, okay, they're kind of in tune with how they're feeling. Therapy can help like get further into the story and to get into the next chapter. It's like, okay, so we're experiencing this now, that awareness that Kim talked about. It's like, okay, yeah, this is how it is right now. And therapy can help us, okay, so what will next be? How do you want it to be next week or next month or next year? And can really help us be able to write the story ourselves, like to be
Mm.
the author of it and be in charge of it, versus having, all the people around us and the experience and the situation that's happening, be the author.
Yeah.
Can we be in charge of that story?
Yeah, I love narrative therapy.
Me too. I
I
think,
really enjoyed it. I can't remember the gentleman's first name. White, is that what it is?
mhm, that's
Yeah, I
right.
remember reading that or listening to that book when we were in school still.
Yeah, right.
And I liked that storyline kind of idea
Mhm.
and rewriting things,
Right, right. Yeah, and being the author of your story.
being the author of your story. It's a good quote for a wall. Be the
Mhm.
author of your
Yeah,
story.
I got it on a wall in my office, actually. Yeah.
I should have known. Oh, that's awesome. Um, but I mean, yeah, I think that's ultimately, I think what therapy is, no matter what you're dealing with,
Mhm.
right? It's this opportunity to see what's happening and maybe understand why it's happening.
Yeah.
And then realizing that you have the space to kind of redefine what you want to do.
Yeah.
I know somebody who went to switched high schools between middle school and high school. So had a not good school experience. Had some health issues. Kind of got labeled as a kid, and then they decided to switch high schools when they were freshmen,
Mm.
and they saw it as this redefining of themselves. And they go, okay, I get to redefine myself now that I go to this school, right? Cool concept. Then it became this idea that did you redefine yourself or were you actually able to be yourself?
Mm.
And that was the kind of the aha moment of like, oh yeah, I didn't
Get to be
I
more
didn't
authentic.
do anything. I mean, I just wanted to be who I was and just be myself, whatever that was.
Right.
And so it wasn't a redefinition, it was an authenticity that was figured out kind of, or an okay with themselves probably, but like that was a really cool thing to kind of see and hear about because that's a pretty big shift for somebody to have a recognition of um this change that had happened that they wanted to have happen, but that it wasn't what they thought it was. It wasn't like they're continuing to have to pretend to be this label that they had in the past. They could really just shed all whatever labels and just be themselves. And I think that's one of those things that therapy can offer people is this redefinition of who they are.
Mm,
Sorry, no, that's not what I meant. Not the redefinition, but the authentic, being able to be okay with them being their authentic self
yeah.
and not have to be this whatever. You don't have to be the crazy guy at the parties that gets hammered all the time and does crazy shit.
Mm,
We can, if you want to, you can read, why do I do that? And what am I looking for in the attention that gives me, whatever it is, and being able to be like, oh yeah, is there other ways to get attention? Or, how would I really want to act? Oh yeah, I don't want to do crazy shit. I want to be able to sit in a lawn chair with my friends and talk. Oh, okay, let's figure that out. Like those are really wonderful
right.
moments in therapy that I think that people that are considering it, um, is that it can be something very different depending on how you want to approach it.
Simon, I appreciated the story about the student that moved from middle school to a new high school, and it gave them the opportunity to be more true to themselves.
Hmm.
Uh, and I'll tell you, as a school counselor who loved working with seniors, I talked about that a lot, about how moving on from high school, whether it's going to work, going to college, whatever it is that whatever path might be the military, and whatever path after graduation, it's an opportunity to be more true to who you truly are. Is, in high school, um, people have a reputation, right? And maybe that's from when they were in elementary school.
Hmm.
They have this reputation and they try to maintain that reputation. And it's extremely risky and scary to change,
Yeah.
right? Because you might lose friends, people might think you're weird. They, they don't get it. So a lot of students would, you know, think it's confusing if suddenly you want to live in a completely different lifestyle than what you were. For thinking of 80s kids, I was a metalhead. I had long hair. I love Metallica, right? And um, if I suddenly changed and, oh man, I'm really into Depeche Mode, New Wave, the Smiths,
Mhm.
kids might think, whoa, where did that come from? And it can be risky as a young person sometimes
Mhm.
to be more true to yourself. And as a school counselor, I loved inspiring these young people to have that opportunity to be authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, I've been talking a lot with people about self-worth. And I
Oh,
think. That's a big part of it.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, does it feeling like you and I talked about the things we enjoyed today earlier, like I deserve to sit here and do what I want to do. I've
Mm-hmm.
put a lot of time and effort
Right.
into things. I've been a good
Yeah,
parent.
no kidding.
I've put all these things in place, and it's okay to enjoy those things, but it's hard to get to that space, I think, of being like, oh, yeah, I don't have to do anything right now. Everything's getting taken care of. But sometimes it gets complicated and it's hard to see it all, and if we don't have belief in ourselves that we can accomplish these things, that there's not things in front of us, but things that we can move around, it really shifts our understanding of what we're experiencing in the world.
Right.
And I don't think I'm some person who has this, I don't feel the most confident person by any means.
Oh,
But at the same time, I feel like I'm slowly building confidence in areas. Like I feel like there's growth in areas, but
right.
I don't think it means that therapy is going to give you your self-worth. But I think understanding why you struggle with it would be really important.
Yeah. Right.
And
Well,
sometimes from our older aging parents, I'll just tie it right back into that. That's clunky, but
right.
that's what it is. We get a lot of the stuff from them. So if we're trying to process through our own stuff and we're at the same time dealing with an aging parent, um, who we maybe already struggle with, or we have similar behaviors, and so it's hard to figure out how to make this work. I mean, that's really difficult, and it doesn't have to be the suffering's always going to happen, but it can be done in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. You bring up self-worth. And this could be like one of those crises that people who are aging could go through,
Hmm.
right? Like, you think of, somebody 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Did I do the things in my life that I wanted to do?
Hmm.
Like, as I reflect back, did I accomplish what I set out to accomplish? Did I do the adventures? Did I do the trips to Scotland? Did I do that? And being able to um, have a lot of joy and pride and satisfaction of the things that one did in life, or regrets. Like, dang, like I worked too much, I spent too much, I didn't do that, I didn't do that, whatever it might be, and having like loss and grief of
Hmm.
"Mm, just didn't accomplish, I didn't do the things that maybe I wish I would have done, and having to sit with that. And, as a child, like us that have aging parents, like being able to sit with our parents through some of those things, and maybe learn from them, uh yeah,
I would love for my dad to live with me now. That'd be
uh-huh,
kind of cool. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I don't think that's ever going to happen, but I mean, that would be something that I'd be okay with because I mean, because I've begun to kind of change or repair things in a way. I wouldn't my stepfather, and he would laugh at that because we've talked about those things. We just don't cohabitate well together. But yeah, I would definitely do that. But I'm only would be willing to do that because of things being different. And I
mhm,
think therapy is just one of those things where if it can, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It shifted my relationship with my dad. I don't fucking care. Like it's just too significant for me to ignore. And so again, I don't think it's an easy task, and I think that's a super fair observation. But it's
yeah.
it's so worth the effort. So, what a good topic, Paul. I mean, thank you for bringing it to my attention. I thought it was perfect. Aligned with things that were happening for me too. Not necessarily, parents getting older and moving in somewhere, but repairing relationships and seeing how things can be different and the struggles with having a parent who's already passed away and not having that chance to repair.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a very good topic.
Good. Important one, I think.
Yeah. Well, if you were listening to us today, we really appreciate you taking the time to give us a little bit of space to kind of talk about some of these things. We know it's difficult, but we really feel like it can be impactful to come in and talk to somebody about some of the struggles that we're going through. So I'd reach out, always want to say that if you're looking for a therapist, Psychology Today is awesome. You can kind of look around, see what people do, see who fits you, have conversations with different therapists and find your person. Super important.
Right.
And we're down for that. Like we've all talked to people and they haven't become our clients, but we got to promote the idea of therapy and hand them to somebody that would be better for them, which is great. So I would just offer everybody to, if you're struggling with things or you're just trying to figure yourself out, like we said about this person that decided to be their genuine selves at such a young age. That it can really help you find some paths that seem really blocked and you can figure out why they're blocked and then
Mm.
move on with the things that you want to do in your life. So we really appreciate you taking the time. Also, Paul, you had some things to share, I'm sure. I totally caught you off guard. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, I did. I'm sorry. So can we?
I
This is going
lost
to
I
be
lost myself in some kind of weird closing tangent. That's what,
so. Remind me on what I should say, Simon, because I'm drawing a blank.
sorry.
Sorry.
No, that was unfair.
Oh, it was not. It was totally fair. I'm just blanking.
No, you're good. I was gonna say if you want to go ahead and say whatever you want to say, thanking people, whatever, and then do the like and subscribe stuff. I kind of like that you were doing that at the end last few
Okay.
times.
Okay.
So yeah, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay. I want to thank our listeners too for for their loyalty to our podcast and hearing us out, and being able to share this with other people. Simon and I have a mission to reach more and more people to see that, talking to a therapist is okay. Simon and I are not intimidating people. We're here because we genuinely care for the human experience and want to welcome people to come to therapy, maybe for the first time, right? Um, and so if you have people in your life that might be considering therapy or it might be good for them, please feel free to share this podcast. And also welcome you to reach out to us if there's a particular topic that you would like for us to discuss. Uh, I'm sure you can find us online and just reach out, and we're happy to consider the topics that you want us to discuss.
Perfect. Well, everybody, thanks again for listening. And if you haven't heard it today, I love the idea of just telling you guys how much we love you and we care about you because we know it's tough out there and we want things to be different. So thanks for listening and have a great rest of your night. Take it easy.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Adios. All right. And now for our disclaimer. The content shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional mental health treatment, diagnoses, or advice. Although we are licensed therapists, this podcast does not establish a therapist-client relationship between the host and the listeners. The discussions, examples, and opinions shared are based on our professional experience and perspectives, but they are not personalized to your specific situation. If you're experiencing emotional distress, mental health concerns, or a crisis, we strongly encourage you to seek support from a qualified mental health professional in your area. If you are in immediate danger or need urgent assistance, please contact local emergency services or a crisis hotline. In the US, you can call 988 for suicide hotline. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge and agree that the hosts are not providing therapy, counseling, or clinical services, and any actions you take based on the content are your own responsibility. Listener discretion is advised, as some topics may include discussions of trauma, mental health challenges, or sensitive experiences.